today's fun topic is going to be on Facebook ads, mostly Facebook ads. Now that Facebook owns Instagram, it's sort of like Facebook and Instagram ads. You can cover both in the same platform, which has its advantages and disadvantages. Everybody can have their feelings about that. But it does open you up to, I think, a little bit more ease with your approach to things because you can, have one place where you're doing both. And I'm not sure, I'm curious how many people are using Instagram as well as Facebook. From my experience of, just conversations in the Maestri group, it seems like maybe people are dabbling in it or they're trying to get into it, or maybe just haven't quite started yet. Okay, Deb is using both, Louise doing it. Yep. I think it can depend on your genre, but I think in general at this point, Instagram is definitely the place to be for musicians, and especially, cross-posting is great. They've made a lot of changes since they bought Instagram, and even lately I've noticed it's a lot easier to cross-post without it. It used to be like you would have a post on Facebook that was like, this was posted from Instagram, and you know that that's not as optimized for Facebook. So they've definitely streamlined that. I've been playing around with that more because I used to definitely create different types of things for each platform, and now it seems a little bit more seamless. Like, I don't know if you've noticed when you're scrolling through Facebook, you see like recommended reels. If you know what reels are, R-E-E-L-S. The tall videos that are kind of like stealing from the TikTok vibe. And yes, Instagram tagged shopping is more user-friendly, absolutely, reels. So they've put a lot of energy into Instagram, probably money and all of that as well, into making it like a shopping platform and making it more like integrated in with Facebook that I've noticed. So you can definitely apply what I'll be talking about, which is mostly because I got started so much just with Facebook ads. You couldn't do ads on Instagram. But you can still apply it to Instagram because when you're in your ads manager, when you're choosing the placement of where your ad goes, it's going to default to go to all the places, and Instagram is going to be included there. And that's the kind of an area you can play with and have a lot of fun with using, whether you want to make something specifically for Instagram stories or within the feed. There's just so many different things to play with in there. But generally, unless you're being really specific, like I am making a tall video, 15-second for stories, you generally want to make something that will be tweaked across all the different platforms for the algorithm to decide, where that's going. Other than, testing a specific idea you have or strategy, you want to pretty much create something that can be, allow the algorithm to kind of put it where it's going to get the most traction. And Megan is saying, definitely raise your hand if you have any questions. So I have sort of an agenda of what I wanted to go through, assuming kind of everyone's in a different spot with ads and what they've run or haven't run. So I just wanted to give you like a formula for what is the starting point and the process for creating your ad. So there's the pre-planning that you want to do before you start running it, the launch period where you're running it now and you're trying to see if it's going to work, and then the post-launch period where you're then maintaining it for profitability. And again, we're having that issue with attendees can chat with everyone. I'm changing it on my end. I don't know if that helps. But I did, okay, that worked, great. So now everyone can see everybody's chat. So I think it just defaults that way for when there's too many people and you don't want to get distracted by the chat. But yeah, we should be able to keep it open for everybody. So I'm sure we'll have a lot of questions. So I kind of want to go through this a little bit first and hold on to your questions as I'm talking. And then we can do like a focused Q&A, mostly for myself so I don't get off track, because I want to make sure I give you the most like helpful information and then kind of break it down by anybody's like circumstances or thoughts or questions. So I created this Google Doc that I wanted to share with anybody who's interested. That gives you more of like a step-by-step breakdown of everything I'm going to explain here, but it just is much more detailed so that it can guide you through the process as you're doing it. But I don't know if that's right for everybody, and I haven't really like shared it with other people before. So I just wanted to put that out there so you know everything I'm saying I have put in a Google Doc. So if you're interested in that, I can share it with you, you know, after. And if you have any questions about it, you can just reach out to me. Because I'd love your feedback too on the Google Doc to see if it's, you know, helpful. So the place I always start when I want to run ads is why. Why am I running this ad? What is my objective? I'm sure you've heard that term. If you've been in the ads manager, you've seen where you have to choose your objective. So their objective terms are based on the outcome or the way the ad's going to run and where it's going to be placed. But my why and my objective is more about, you know, what do I want the customer or fan experience or journey to be? So I think of it as like two sort of paths. So one path could be either you're just starting out or you're just starting out with a new approach. Maybe you've got a new album and you're kind of rebranding, and so the ads you were running before maybe don't work anymore. So this is kind of like, I'm just starting. You may have heard the term like top of funnel, which is where the majority, you know, very broad, you're bringing as many people in as possible. So that would be that approach. And then the other path, which I could get so detailed about with one-on-one conversations more so, is if you have a specific product with a specific price point or a service, because I know some of us do lessons or other kinds of things, like we're all multifaceted, that would be like something that you would build a whole strategy around based on, you know, profitability and specific things that you want to track, as well as like a really robust retargeting approach. So I think for a lot of us here, we're probably in the arena of maybe we've done some ads, but we don't really know what's working or what to track. And we're looking for that top of funnel, like bringing in awareness, bringing in a lot of people, maybe growing our email list. So this is sort of that like top of funnel awareness and acquisition, bringing people into our world and then driving them to our email list, our YouTube page, our Spotify, whatever, you know, our shop, bringing that awareness in and then driving them to a specific area to then further nurture them, right? Because this fan journey is a little bit different than a customer journey. And I found this myself because I have played around with ads for a while. I started the online musician courses back in 2016, I want to say. So back then there was a lot of doing like ads and doing things to kind of trick the system so that you would get a lot of numbers, so that you'd have a lot of, the word is escaping me, but the experience of other people seeing your page and going, oh, you're legit. You know, you have all these numbers, you have all these followers, I'm going to trust you. So that was kind of the approach back then. And so from that point until now, gosh, what, like 6 years? Social proof. Thank you, Chris. I like the platform has changed, the algorithm has changed, the approaches, the more people have in the online musician world have tried things and tested things. I've taken other courses, I've had other mentors. I've just like, for some reason, like I love ads, and I guess I love it the way I love puzzles and things like that. And because there's that creative element too, where you get to create, you know, visuals and videos and things for it. And just like the power of what it can do for your business, is, you know, technically a business. I like to think of it that way. It just gets me really excited, and I feel like I never stop having ideas or things I want to try. So I don't know how much I've spent on ads, but I feel like it's way more than I should admit. So I just say that to just let you know that I've done all the things Leah has taught us. I've done lots of other things. And I've even spent some time working for an ad agency that focused more on, you know, just like direct to consumer product. Like I sell this one thing online and I want to use ads, you know, kind of that way we think of like the traditional e-com, or even having a physical store. So that was the kind of stuff I was helping people with at that agency. So as you can see, my journey with ads, like Leah said in a lot of her courses, this could lead you to a job in this world. And I kind of dipped my toe in that for a while and realized I do really love this. I love the strategy. I love working with people, but I'm just so much more passionate about musicians and creatives. And so working with like straight business people just didn't light me up as much, but I learned so much about really drilling down on your numbers and like really what ads are for in that more traditional sense, and how we as artists and musicians have to kind of take that information and blend it with our sort of more of a fan journey, right? And I think I've heard from a lot of you that you had similar experiences, right? Like you can't just bombard the platform with your ads, because this is really about building personal relationships. Like if you saw Lindsay's talk yesterday, you know, these people have a real investment in their personal relationship with you. And if you put ads out there, like in the e-com style, it sends a totally different message, and it can really like clash with the approach that you want to take. So that's sort of my journey to my kind of like background and experience with this. So I guess I'll tell you a little bit more. So like my big breakthrough last year, well, in 2020, I did this big crowdfunding campaign. It was the first one I'd ever done, and it was successful. And that was a huge deal for me because I definitely didn't know what to expect going into it, and I was super nervous. And I got a lot of help to make that possible, but I learned so much. So again, if you take anything away from this, it's that the best thing you can learn from is your own experience. So whatever skin you can put in the game is going to be so much better experience for you, and learning and growth and knowledge than even listening to me talk about it. So I, you know, read all the books about crowdfunding and took all these courses, and nothing could have prepared me for actually doing it, and what I learned on the other side of it. So, but what that did for me is it was funding my product. So I was able to press all of this physical media from that money. And then once I had it all, it took like a year to get it, because that was back in the like, you know, like we're kind of in that still now, but there was this crazy backlog of, you know, manufacturing issues and shipping delays and stuff like that. So I was like in the crunch of that when that was happening. So in 2021, I finally had all my vinyl and my reels and my cassettes and everything. And I decided, because we had, you know, our Kickstarter people had claimed a good chunk of it, but we still had a lot. And that was, you know, a win-win, right? So like a few people paid for a lot more product than they claimed. So I can't speak to the value of that enough. But that's like, I want to be really transparent that that's my story, right? So I didn't have any COGS technically, because everything had been paid for already by our fans. So then when I ran ads for our vinyl, and some of you may already know about this because I posted in the group for help all the time, I was able to focus on the profitability of it, because I didn't have to crunch the numbers of, you know, a lot of you may know like vinyl has such a small margin of profitability. But because it was already paid for by my crowdfunding, I was able to run ads and be more profitable with it. And so that was a big motivation for me to do it. And I spent probably 6 or 8 months running those ads. And again, the experience of having to do that and having to really test my ideas and have it out there for so long. Because in the past, I would like run an ad for like a week, maybe around a Black Friday sale or a launch, and then I would take everything down, right? But running something for a product for a consistent amount of time, like you get so much data, you get so much experience, you get so much feedback, you get so many quotes and reviews, and you get to learn kind of the kinks in your own checkout system. I mean, it's so invaluable because the volume that you have and the consistency that you have gives you so much. Like the kinds of questions I get from people running ads is like, they haven't run them yet. So they have all these questions, right? What should I be tracking? How will I know if it's working? How can I calculate my profitability? It's like, well, we need some hard facts here to figure that out, right? We need to know where your actual product is. We need to know what actual overhead is. We need to know what your actual, size of your audience is, all of these things. And then, I learned as I went, right? Realizing like, oh, wait, shipping things have to be tweaked because it eats into my profitability because my cost of sale is so much. So as you can see, there's a lot of spokes to this wheel, and a lot of it, like I said, is going to come from actually doing it and actually being willing to like put yourself out there and try it. And so I want to give you kind of a guideline outline for preparing to even run your ads so that you know it's the right thing to do for you before you even start. So you start with your objective. I want to pick an example. So what's like a really common, I guess, our email list, right? Because running, maybe, I don't think many people do like ads anymore. I was doing it for a really long time and they were still working for me, right? Like I didn't really care about the likes. It was the fact that it brought people in at a very low cost, like maybe 5 cents, and then they would rummage around my page, maybe join my email list, and I could retarget them for things. So I'm not anti-like ads. I know there's video view ads. Those also seem to be like people have a pretty good handle on them. It's, you're just spending money. You may or may not get any return on it directly, but you understand that you're bringing people into your ecosystem and you can retarget that kind of audience. So these are the audiences that you, tend to want to have a low cost, like you're going to have a 1 to 3 cents on your video view ads per view. Your like ads, you may be 5 to 15 cents, depending on your audiences. And that's going to be, you can bring large numbers in to engage with your content and then retarget them for, let's say, a warm audience to convert to your email list. So let's use email lists because that's a conversion campaign. So the objective in Facebook would be conversion, but your objective would be that you want to either further upgrade someone who's already in your ecosystem, right? Like someone who's seen your video or engaged with your post, and further upgrade them to someone who's on your email list, because that's like a next tier of engagement or commitment to you, is them joining your email list. And a lot of us should know that, once they're on your email list, there should be a system set up where they're receiving, automated emails that are then driving them to all those places we talked about, right? So it may cost you, anywhere up to $1 or $1.50 to get someone on your email list, but then that person has a lifetime value that is harder to track because obviously it's not, like if you're selling, like when I was selling my vinyl, I could see this person cost me this much and they spent this much in the shop. But I know over the lifetime, I maybe do another crowdfunding, other things they buy. You really want to pay attention to the fact that this is about lifetime value. So I think that's what is a little bit different about the more traditional e-com approach to running ads that I was talking about in the beginning versus what we need to do, which is we are out there attracting and acquiring our super fans. And there's a lot of systems we need to put in place to attract the right people, point them in the right direction, and then sift and sort and segment whether that person is just a looky-loo, whether they're, a VIP, whether they're, a super fan, right? There's all these different tiers and segments that you might create. But the first step, right, is getting them to take that action. And I do hear a lot of people say, like, I'm just pouring money into growing my email list. Well, if you feel that way, again, there's a mindset to this, then you're probably not ready to run ads. So what I'd like to say about the mindset here is, as someone who used to tour a lot for 10 years or so, the cost of that to me was almost always a loss. Also, I had to use my vacation time from work to do it because I was still working, full-time jobs. So I was, taking time away, losing money on the road, Yes, having an amazing time that I would never take back, absolutely. But, and especially back in those days, it was not as easy to get people on your email list and have all these automated systems set up. So I might go on a tour of like, a bunch of different cities and have only a handful of people who I'm going to be able to connect with later through my email list or what have you. I'm not saying that doesn't work for everybody, but if you can kind of shift your thinking a little bit about how amazing it is that we can just use this machine, which everybody is plugged into, to attract and build community at a very low cost, not only to your wallet, but like to your time and energy, right? Like, to me, we've talked about this too, and I think this will lead into what Megan's going to talk about with burnout. Your time and your energy are so valuable. And yes, you do need to budget and you need to have the money set aside, and not everybody's ready for that. And we all want it to, come from, a profitable music business and not be pouring it in from other angles. But, most businesses have outside investors, and you may need to be your own investor in your business if you're really serious about this and you understand the methodology that you need to use to approach this so that you have a lifetime of value from people that maybe you spent $1 to acquire, and now they've spent $1,000 to support you over the lifetime of what you're doing. And that's uncapped, right? For as long as you make music and as long as your music exists in the world, which should be in perpetuity, you can be bringing in value from these maybe 1,000 people, right? Like the 1,000 super fans. So that's sort of the approach you want to have, the mindset you want to have before you even start running ads. You want to make sure you know where your mindset is and you know what your objective and expectations are for this, because it's really easy to get caught up in the data part of it. But at the end of the day, this is about building the community that's going to support you over the lifetime of your music career. And it just happens to be that we're all really plugged into social media right now. And it just happens to be that there's this amazing ad platform that we can use to leverage, our creativity. So if we were doing an email list, our objective would be conversions, and our objective overall would be to upgrade our current warm audience, or attract, you can attract people cold straight onto your email list as well. That works great. I wouldn't knock that idea at all, that people are seeing that email list ad for the first time and they don't know you. I've had tons of people come in from all kinds of which ways, because you can't really know how cold somebody is, to be honest, right? Because you have, I'm sure, a lot of content on your page already that they can interact with. So that definitely plays into it as well. So if you're going to run ads, definitely make sure that you're posting at least once a day. You're on your own page, Facebook and Instagram if you can, because that is going to like juice everything up, right? There's going to be things you can't quite tangibly track, but you're going to be able to tell based on the activity and the results that, I've kind of played around with this. Like, oh, I'm going to take a break from posting for a while and see if my ads still work. Well, they do, but it's just like, it's a little bit lackluster, right? There's not as much for people to be pointed back to engage with. You want to seem really active and present for these fans that you're bringing into your system. So any ad that you're running, you want to make sure that you have organic content as well, whether that's, through your emails, whether you're pointing them to your YouTube page where you stream all the time, whatever it is, you want to make sure that there's something exciting for them to engage with right out the gate. So you don't want to just rely on, okay, I plugged something into the ads manager, now my ad's running and it should do everything for me. No, this is just a piece of the puzzle. And it's a really powerful piece of the puzzle that runs while you're sleeping. Like, think about that. When I was touring, there wasn't a lot of sleeping going on. I was definitely having to put myself out there to inspire people to even join my email list. And who even knows what I was doing with my email list at that point. And selling t-shirts after the show and trying to figure out, who's got the gear and all that kind of stuff. So the fact that you can run these ads, they are acquiring people from all over the world while you sleep or while you're at work or taking care of your kids or whatever you're doing. and you check in with them once a day, once a week, wherever you're at in that process, and you have new potential super fans every day. I just think it's so cool. So once you've determined, you know, why you're running this ad, I even have another example too. Like, I wanted to grow my Instagram list last year, so I started testing different types of ads for that too. So it could be that you want to grow your presence on a platform, grow your email list, or sell a product. But you need to determine that first before you even start. And then you need to set your expectations of what the outcome is going to be. So if you say like, okay, I want, you know, certain things I'm going to track in terms of cost of acquisition, or the numbers that I want per week to happen, or even quality of who those people are. Like, I'm really digging for my next 10 super fans who are going to spend $100 with me this year. And this leads me right to my next thing, who fit my avatar, right? That could be your goal. So the next thing that you want to do once you've determined your objective and why you're doing it and what you want your outcome to be, and that needs to be a really trackable thing, you're going to start with your avatar. So no matter what kind of ad you're running, you want to go back to who your avatar is. So this is your ideal fan. This is the person who is going to, no matter what you do, they are going to eat it up. They are going to support you. They're going to show up for every live stream. They're going to buy every album. They're going to share your stuff to other people. They're going to be a huge cheerleader for you. So if you haven't done that avatar exercise, that's something that's on my Google Doc that I take you through step-by-step questions that I ask you to create this, this world for your avatar. Who they are, what kind of job they have, how old they are, where they live, what their interests are. I mean, you just really want to paint a picture. And I have like a couple people in my world now that I could name that I go, that's my avatar. And so whenever I kind of get lost in what I'm trying or testing something new, I always go back to like, would that person be into this? Does this speak to that person? And when you're writing your ads, you want to think about that person, hold them in your mind and talk to them like you're talking to one person. So then you're going to go through like your who, what, when, where, why, right? So now we're in this mode of like, okay, we know we're going to run this ad to our email to grow our email list. Our who is going to be all of those facts about our avatar. The what is going to be that they're joining our email list. So you want to determine like, are we giving them the 5 free songs? Are we taking them on a mystical journey? You know, what are they getting? Are they getting VIP status, and what does that mean? So you really want to outline the what. And then you want to go to your why. Why does it matter to them? Because now that we've gotten ourselves out of the way, we know what we're doing and why we're doing it. Now put yourself on a shelf. And you're going to focus on this avatar. And you're going to focus on why they should care. How is this going to enrich their life? What are the benefits, right? A lot of times we think about, you know, products are easier to talk about, you know, features and benefits, but joining your email list has tons of benefits. And I would say if you're at a point where you've gathered a lot of reviews or feedback or comments on your posts, like the why could come from what other people have already said, emails that you've gotten. I know at one point CJ said that he keeps a Google Doc where he literally puts everything that everyone has ever said about him and what he does. And I've tried to do that, but it overwhelms me. So I have it in all these different places. I like to take screenshots actually, and I have a folder on my drive here that has all the screenshots that I take of comments on my ads, when people leave me a Facebook review, any responses and stories, anywhere that I'm getting, you know, a good, you know, sentence or even a paragraph of what someone is saying, this has changed their life. I know you guys have gotten these responses because I've heard you in these sessions even sharing these stories. So, you know, how they describe your music, how they describe their relationship with you. I mean, even somebody said yesterday, like, wow, you're one of the most accessible musicians I've ever come across. That's a benefit. You know, I'm available, I'm accessible. This is a one-on-one relationship we're building here, right? Because we have shared common interests. So for any type of ad you're running, these are the things you need to go through before you even start writing your ad. It's going to give you so much clarity and so much sense of purpose and intentionality. And when you have that, I know, this is why I love us musicians so much, because I know you know what I'm talking about. that feeling you have of when you put your heart and soul into something, you know that that energy translates through the screen. When you just kind of are nervous and you hastily throw something together and then you're like, why isn't this working? Why are people leaving me nasty comments, right? We know why. It's because we haven't taken that time to really put ourselves into it and be super intentional. Like, I am doing this because, I am doing this for, and this is what I want out of it. When you put it out there, it's going to go gangbusters, right? And people are going to reflect that energy that you put into it back to you. So yes, this is, you know, ads can be dry and about data and science and tips and tricks and all that. But I think at the end of the day, the power that we have as artists is that we can put that energy into things we do, whether it's even just the image or the video that you're creating or the copy or, you know, you're targeting, all that stuff. You can put the energy of being an artist into it. The thoughts that you have for your avatar, that one-on-one conversation you want to have, that is going to translate. I don't know how it works. I just know that it does because I've experienced it time and time again. So that is a huge recommendation that I have, is to really take the time to do the pre-planning and intentionality behind it, so that, you know, the putting your stuff in the Facebook Ads Manager should take you 20 minutes because you've done all the work already. So the next thing, so now we're talking about actually creating the ad. So obviously from ad type to ad type and artist to artist, there's going to be so much nuance to this. But generally what you want to do is you want to make sure that you have created, and this again is in my Google Doc, you want to make sure you created some long copy, some short copy. You might have a couple different versions of this. But I'm telling you, if you do this ahead of time, you are going to feel so amazing when you start running your ad and it's fatiguing. You already have something to plug right into that to test the next thing, right? Because that's what this is all about, is about testing. So again, if you don't have the heart for this, for the long haul, for the testing that's involved, for the trying it over and over and over again, just stick to the organic posting and building your sort of identity, because that's just as powerful. So long copy, short copy, there's the ADA formula that Leah talks about that I actually know that she stole from someone else, and I took his course called the copywriting course because she had a module on copywriting and I figured out who she stole it from, and so I went and took his course, and that was probably one of the biggest factors in my success with ads, was going into that course. And they have not only the step-by-step of how to write copy, but they also have a portal for you to submit your copy and then someone gives you feedback like within 24 hours. Like it could be your entire website, it could be an ad post, it could be anything. So that community helped me a lot. So I definitely recommend, it's just called the copywriting course, copywritingcourse.com, I think is all it is. I'll grab a link to it during our Q&A part. So if you can do that, if that interests you, if you're really into the idea of really being able to speak to your fans the way they want to be spoken to and having more of an impact with them with less effort, I can't recommend the copywriting course enough. So they have something called the AIDA formula, AIDA, and I put that in my Google Doc as well to help you kind of get your wheels turning. It gives you a formula for how to write out attention-grabbing, benefit-rich posts or emails or anything really. It's really how you should write everything. It's about them, it's not about you. I think we've heard that a lot, but I just want to reiterate it. So the things you want to gather up during this phase is your long copy, your short copy. You want to maybe have a friend review it, have somebody proofread it, ask them how it makes them feel. You know, again, we're about making people feel things here. So you want to have a bunch of different versions of your copy, and then you want to gather up all your images and videos that you think are going to work for this. I personally have found that images, even though it makes me mad because I put so much effort into my videos, my images always convert at a lower rate. So it's a lower cost for me and a higher impact. And I think it's because Facebook, especially, I think, you know, Instagram is saying like, oh, we're a video platform now. Facebook, when you're scrolling, like if there's a video there, that's your action that you've taken. If you watch that video, you've already taken an action. So when you have an image, you look at the image, you read the copy, you click the button for more, right? So I think that's the psychology there, and that's why, but it's always worth testing both. And I think where video is most effective is in retargeting. So if you're, again, I think if you're looking at your whole ecosystem of ads or you're selling products, retargeting with ads is going to be super essential. And video can come in really handy there, because if they've seen the image, the long copy, they've engaged with it, but they didn't take the action, you're gonna be able to retarget them and show them a video that maybe gives them more detail or gives them more of a personality. You know, definitely, yeah, like Chris is saying, video view ads are awesome. I run them constantly. Never, you know, if you can afford even just like $2 a day, like run a video view ad. But keep all this in mind, right, when you're doing that, right? You want to make sure that you're putting that intentionality behind it. But, you know, that's also a really good audience to retarget. But that's one version of retargeting. But what I'm talking about is when you're trying to get somebody to convert, right, either into your email list or to a product. Retargeting ads are like an advanced thing we could talk about in another session. And I think video works really well with that. So that's all I was trying to say. Image for my opt-in for email has killed every other thing I've tried. I've put montage videos together. I've made sure there's music playing, because everyone's like, why would you have an email opt-in ad for free music and not have the music playing? Well, guess what? The blank image that tells you how the music is going to make you feel or catches your eye and makes you stop scrolling, it works so much better than the video. And again, I think it's because, oh, I watched the video, bye, right? I took an action already. So for some reason, that's what I found. So I just wanted to share that. But the other thing about getting your images and your videos together is this is another area that you want to really take time and intentionality for. Because what I found when I was running those vinyl ads, I started with an image. I started with what I thought was logical. And then as I was doing it, as I was tweaking the copy and I was getting more feedback, what I should do, how can I improve? Because I was getting conversions, but it wasn't like consistent and it wasn't at a good price. So I knew I had to keep testing. I started to have all these ideas. Oh, okay, so people really want to hear what other people think about a product, right? So I started grabbing all those screenshots I had taken, and I started creating this video where it was all the images of the vinyl mixed with the screenshots of what people said about it. And, you know, people say some funny things. So it's kind of funny, it's kind of out there, and it's not me saying it, it's other people, because it's a screenshot. So you can see this is legit, right? So there's all this legitimacy that's baked in too. And I just let myself roll with all these different creative ideas. And then that ended up being like super effective. And you know that something's effective not only when obviously you're getting consistent sales, but when people are starting to refer to your creative back to you, or ask you how you made it, or give you feedback on the ad itself, not even the product. So I definitely recommend letting your creativity fly. You know, don't put any ceiling on it. Don't do what somebody else is doing. Let yourself just sit and like really marinate in what the experience for the person consuming this is. And I know this sounds like probably the amount of effort you put into, you know, writing your album, but you're putting your hard-earned money on the line for this. And you want to attract the right people out the gate. You don't want to run for 6 months and then go, oh, I was targeting wrong, right? You want to really put the effort in on the front end so that you can just hit the buttons and go back to your life, let it run. Yes, thank you, Chris, for chiming in on that. So that's, you know, another recommendation I have is to really put a lot of effort into your creative. And then your next step is that you're going to put together a list of your audiences. So another thing I have in the Google Doc is my recommendations for warm versus cold audiences and the types that you might want to play around with. And again, this can get so fun. I have so much fun strategizing with people about this, drilling down to like their specific scenario and creative ways that you can retarget a certain type of audience based on, you know, what kind of ad you're running, what your objective is. I would say if we're talking about our email list, I personally have put together a warm audience that is a bunch of different audiences, like mini audiences, because you want it to be as big as possible. So I always will run this to warm audiences because I feel like it's almost like I'm giving back and letting them know like other ways that they can engage or upgrade themselves in our world. even though it's a smaller audience and it sometimes costs more just because of the way the algorithm works, right? They want huge audiences and the algorithm wants to be in charge. It wants to run free. This is like what Viktor was talking about yesterday, like just in like the last year or two, probably even just the last year, the algorithms have changed to more artificial intelligence, and they want their freedom to go in there and figure out all this stuff that probably even just doing the work of who your avatar is, you could never know that, like, they only brush their teeth on Tuesdays and they like to wear socks with their sandals. Like, there's weird stuff that is based on the behavior that people have with these apps that we'll never really be able to target or understand or drill down on. So sometimes you want to kind of test that against your warm audiences, right? Because you've probably done that work to bring them in. So you definitely want to give them the opportunity to upgrade themselves. But there's this huge opportunity to let the algorithm and the AI interface kind of run free on the platform and find those people for you. And I have had a lot of success with the lookalike audiences. But that requires you having data to base that off of, right? Because there's going to be a limit to what you can create if you don't have a big enough pool to draw from. So a lookalike of my purchase pixel, for example, was my most successful audience for my vinyl ad. And I think that's pretty logical why that would be. My warm audiences definitely convert, but they're really expensive and they fatigue really fast. So you want to keep these kinds of things in mind. And again, you're going to get all of this knowledge from your experience of actually doing it. So take all of this information, do all this prep work, but once it starts running, you're going to be the one who knows what works for you better than anybody else. There's also this idea of open targeting that I am actually getting ready to test soon that I learned from my Facebook ads rep that I meet with. So again, this leans into that idea to let the algorithm be in control. So he was saying there's a way you can do broad open targeting. I personally would choose the US only because right now specifically, the people that I want to even attract top of funnel, I want them to really only be from the US because what am I going to do with them? I'm going to sell them vinyl or CDs or what have you. And it costs an insane amount to ship things outside of the US right now. And I know between, the UK is my other country that buys a lot, and they are in weird scenarios with Brexit and lockdowns and everything. And so it's like it costs more to ship than it does for the item, and it's just insane. So for me to spend money on an ad, yes, those people still buy and they'll still tip me and pay extra for shipping and all that stuff, but they're coming from more of an organic avenue. But the people I want to target and spend my money on are going to be US. So this broad open targeting option, so you have your warm audiences, you have your lookalike audiences, and then you're going to have this broad open targeting option, which I can't speak on yet because I haven't tried it, but I'm about to. So you leave everything open. You maybe choose your age range or your location, and that would be it. And then the algorithm will go find the people based on these behaviors. And my rep was saying you'll never really be able to like reverse engineer it or figure out what worked. You're just going to see the results of it. So he said that that's the recommendation of what he says is working the best for people. And this I would recommend for conversion ads for selling a product. I don't know if I would recommend this for your email list yet. So I'm still testing that and I can get back to you on it. All right, so the next thing, which is going to be the biggest thing that people ask about, which is your budget. Like, how much do I need to spend per day? And that is going to be based on the cost to acquire. So whether that's the cost per lead or acquisition to get someone on your email list, or the cost per sale. So how much does it cost for you to get someone to convert into a sale or convert onto your email list? So if that is, let's say it's $1 to get somebody on your email list, you're going to want to spend at least $2 a day because you want to spend 1 to 2 times the cost to acquire. So let's say like for my vinyl, maybe it costs me $20 to acquire that sale. I'm going to need to spend $20 to $40 a day just in that initial testing phase to confirm that my idea and my approach actually works and I can get conversions, because you want to get 1 to 2 conversions a day to prove your thesis. right? And then from there, if it's working and you're getting the return that you like, you can increase your ad spend, right? Because now, oh, okay, I put $1 in, I get $2 out. I'm going to double my ad spend every day until I hit a certain threshold. And that, again, I think is a little bit more advanced stuff, but I would recommend, you know, most people say if you're running a traffic ad, you want to spend at least $10 a day. It's weird because I was running a traffic ad all last year that I was spending $10 a day on, and I didn't know that that was like the target point, and it was working really, really well for me. And I was doing retargeting ads on the back end that were taking maybe people who had watched that traffic ad and they hadn't bought yet, retargeting them, and then they were making purchases. So I was able to track across that ecosystem. But the rule of thumb is 1 to 2 times the cost per acquisition is what your daily ad spend should be, just at the very beginning stages. So definitely, if anybody has questions about that, I'm excited to talk more about it. And generally, you want to consider your testing period at least 48 hours. More than that, and it's probably not working. Less than that, and you probably haven't given enough time. So 48 hours is about the sweet spot. So when you first start running an ad, you're spending 1 to 2 times what you think the cost to acquire is, right? You're going to have to guess at first, but once it's running, you can kind of get a better gauge. We do have some benchmarks from some of the courses we've all taken, and we have each other to ask as well for what those benchmarks should be. So that you can get a sense of what that 1 to 2 times cost per acquisition actually is. So you're going to give it 48 hours, because I know whenever I start an ad, I'm like, every 2 hours, I'm like, it's not working, it's not working. And you want to change stuff. You need to let it sit for 48 hours, okay, before you can validate it. And then if it's not working, you need to swap out that creative, swap out your audiences, whatever you've got ready, you're going to test the next thing until you have proof of concept and it's working, based on what your objective is and what your expected outcome is. So not every ad, like I said, your email ads, you're not necessarily going to see a ROAS on that on the front end. It's going to be from your retargeting, or it's going to be from the email sequence that you send, or your lifetime value of that person, right? So you need to figure out what is an acceptable front end loss for your cost to acquire that person. So what are you comfortable spending to acquire someone? That's something that you have to determine. And then beyond that, you're just going to keep testing. So if I can leave us with one thing, I know I've taken this entire time to talk, and I'm definitely available for questions that we can go over for sure. Be as methodical as you possibly can be. And if you're not a methodical person, get someone to help you, because you need to maybe like chain yourself to the desk and not let yourself test or change anything if you're going to get in there and muck around with it. Because I know us creatives, we're up in here and we're changing this and we're trying that. No, with your ads, you need to take one element at a time and be insanely methodical. Create a spreadsheet, whatever works for you. I use my notes app, as I told you before. You want to create a methodical checklist of what you're testing. It's going to be short copy or long copy, right? Not different tweaks on those things. An image 1, image 2, image 3, video 1, video 2. You don't want to change all these elements at once, right? You're going to pick one element. Maybe you're running long copy and you want to test image versus video, or image versus image. You're not going to play with that copy. You're just going to swap out the image. And you want to keep track of what you're doing outside of the Facebook ads platform, okay? And I know there's a lot of confusion about tracking in the Facebook ads manager. So again, keeping your own track of things outside of it, keeping track of your overall ecosystem, like, okay, I'm spending this much on ads and it says I'm getting this much return. Well, let me look at my shop today and say, oh wait, I actually made this much in sales, right? Because it's going to be behind. So you need to be in charge of your data and tracking things yourself so that you can validate what's working. Because you might, in those 48 hours when you're testing, it might say that you haven't had a conversion, but you know that you had 3 sales, right? So you need to cross-validate. So those are my big takeaways: is do not test more than one element at a time. Leave it for 48 hours before you test something else, and validate your own data outside of Facebook. I have a lot more things on this list of notes, but I'm going to leave it there and open it up to questions and thoughts and feedback and scenarios and whatever you want to do. So thanks for letting me go through all that. I appreciate it. Deb, I see you, and I'm going to promote you to a panelist. And I'm going to, you can do your own thing from here, I think. Yes, hello.
Good morning, everybody. Today's the pink cowboy hat. Oh, let me get my reverb off. I'm not on my live stream anymore from this morning. So I have two questions. Thank you for all this, first of all. There's a lot of good information in here, and I'm looking forward to seeing the document. My big question, two questions are, one, have you uploaded your email list to Facebook? And if so,
yes.
Okay, if so, how do you justify, do you have, what does your privacy statement on your website or something say about that?
That's a great question. I'd have to review it because it's been a while since I even looked at what my privacy notice is. Do you have a specific scenario that you're concerned about?
Well, I'm concerned about because my privacy practice says I'm not going to share your email with third-party people that I don't rent or share it.
Right.
Okay.
But
Therefore, but if I upload it to Facebook, if it's not Facebook, people who signed up on Facebook, then I'm violating my own promise. So
okay, so I don't have that scenario because I don't have people that signed up outside of Facebook.
That's good because I've been thinking I need to separate the people who signed up via Facebook versus like the people who sign up at gigs and stuff and make segments, and change my privacy policy because my existing mail list, I can't upload them. That would be violating that's violating trust.
I totally get that. I think that's really important. That's like what we were talking about at the beginning about bombarding people with ads. Like you really gotta think about your integrity. Whatever your brand is and whatever you stand behind should align with how you're advertising. Absolutely.
Okay. And then that was actually kind of one question. My second question was, when you said $10 a day for any sort of ad that you're testing, is that just for the testing period, or is that what you spend once you find something that works? Are you still spending $10 a day for 360 days a year?
Yes, thank you. Let me clarify that. So that's specifically for a traffic ad.
A traffic ad. Okay, thank you.
And that was something that was told to me by Facebook.
Okay. And they mean like every day of the year.
So for me personally, when I'm thinking about how I'm going to be testing things, I used a traffic ad to test a post, right? Like a image with copy. That I was like, I think this is going to convert to sales, but I don't know yet. And you can spend less and get more traffic and do more retargeting. So a traffic ad is part of kind of an ecosystem, right? So you can use it to test your ideas that you might want to run against your other things that are going with your conversion ads. So if you have a post that you want to know, right? Because we all know when you post something organically, it's a crapshoot. So if you want to know what kind of feedback people have for it, if it converts, if it excites, you can run a traffic ad. And I would say you could probably do it from $1 to $10 a day.
Do you run traffic? Do you have traffic ads running like evergreen?
So, no.
Okay, because Leah said something about that.
You can. There's so much advice out there, and there's so many approaches.
Yeah, I know.
But if you're focusing on, so traffic ads aren't going to be a way to really get those conversions. It's going to be a good thing to test, or if you do not have enough data in your pixel, you can juice it up so you can create those lookalike audiences.
Okay.
So traffic ads are good as a tool within your ecosystem, but it's not something to rely on for a return on your ad spend.
That makes sense. Thank you.
Okay. Oh, I'm so glad. Did you have any other questions?
Not at the moment. I might later.
No. Okay, cool.
Let me just jump in here and encourage everybody to please go ahead and raise your hand if you have any questions. I will read them here in the comments. If you don't want to raise your hand and speak, I'll be happy. Jackson and I can read the questions. But feel free to raise your hand and turn on your video, and we'll talk about it.
I think
Chris, I see Ashley has. Oh, go ahead. Yeah. Go ahead, Louis.
No, I said I think Chris has a question. He posted it in the chat.
Oh, okay, gotcha. Yes, I was seeing some things in the chat as well. Thank you. So Chris, I was meaning you can turn. So I know that there's boosting posts and all that, but I don't mess with it because I want to everything to be in my ads manager and I want to be able to track everything. So I just don't boost posts. So this would be kind of equivalent to boosting a post. So you don't drive a traffic ad to a post. You would take a post that you think might be a good conversion ad that maybe is going to get people to opt in or get a sale. You can run it for less money and get more views or clicks, what have you, through a traffic ad based on the way that Facebook has things set up that it drives it a certain way. So you would take a post and turn it into a traffic ad, and you can test your theory about, does this convert with spending less money on it? Because conversion ads, you know, for a product, you're going to be spending at least, for me, I had to spend at least $25 a day for those vinyl ads, which is why I, at the outset, said I didn't have overhead. It was paid for by my fans because there would be no profit there. Okay, he's got it. Yes, you would want to use the traffic ad to drive people to your site. So again, when we post organically, we know that Facebook shuts down anything we put links to external sites on. So traffic ads are a way to drive people to your site consistently. You can use that to juice up your pixel to then retarget those people with either a product or get them into your warm audience to grow your email list. Again, if you need that data, if you don't have a lot of traffic to your site, or if you don't have, you know, a lot of data in your pixel, the traffic ads are a good low-cost way to test your ideas out, get feedback, and juice up your pixel. And Louis, I'm just going to answer Ashley's question real quick, and then I'll come to you. Thank you, Ashley. So your husband has an online business. How do you create urgency when you run conversion ads for a long period of time? So it really depends. That's kind of a loaded question, because is there actual urgency about what you're doing? So for me, my vinyl was limited edition, and I don't mean to put that in quotes, it actually is. There's only a certain number of copies, and I ran it for a long time because I was doing it at kind of a low budget where I was getting 1 to 2 conversions a day. So over the course of those months, it was still, the urgency of it being limited was still true, but I wasn't selling out every day, right? So I had kind of like a tortoise in the hare situation going on. Just because specifically it was a very high cost item for a very niche audience. So it took that kind of slow, steady pace to reach everybody. Not everybody's on Facebook every day like we are, you know, and you're doing some retargeting as well. Another thing I would say is that the ecosystem of your conversion ad, if you have a product in an online business or a service, is that you want to be swapping out that creative, right? So if you see fatigue, you need to create something new that maybe showcases a different facet of what it is, or maybe is, you know, someone else's testimonial about it, like a video of other people talking about your stuff. Those kinds of things can be part of the ecosystem of retargeting as well. That can help in the long term. But I've also had ads that I run for years and they work great and I don't have to do anything. So it's really case by case. But that's a good question. I hope I answered it, and feel free to raise your hand and follow up on it. You know, we can get into it more. Okay, Louis, go ahead.
Thank you, Jax, and thanks for everything. It's really motivating, you know.
Oh, good.
All you said. And well, just have this little question. In your opinion, does it really hurt when you turn ads on and off? You know, like if you really don't have a huge budget, especially to run like opt-in ads, if you run them for like a week or two and then you turn them off, does it hurt them when you turn on the next month? You know,
I would say if you're going to turn them back on, you're going to want to duplicate that ad.
Yeah, of course, yeah.
So no, as long as you're, as long as you're duplicating. But I would say if you can only run an ad for a week or two, that maybe you want to adjust your expectations or your budget so that you can keep it running longer.
Yeah, so basically these kind of ads, you run them all the time. Yeah.
Yeah,
okay.
I mean, For my email list opt-in, I mean, I think I went at least a year, maybe more, with the same ad, with the same creative and the same copy, and I was getting the same number of people every day.
Okay, cool.
So when you hit that point, you should be able to just let it run. And at that point, you know, that kind of, if you're hitting kind of your consistent numbers of what you need, the amount of people, the cost, it's staying stable, then you can start looking at, okay, what's my real return over the lifetime? Like, who are my super fans? How am I sorting and sifting these segments within my email list? What are my open rates on my emails, right? Then you can really start to drill down because you have so much consistent, stable incoming, right? It's hard to look at all those components at the same time.
Yes, of course. I wrote down everything you said before, and one thing at a time. That's what I plan on doing, because otherwise it's way too messy. Just one last thing. What would you recommend is a good budget to dedicate on ads every month?
Ooh, that's a really tough question. What's your objective? Like, what type of ads? Like, I don't think there's one number that works for everybody.
Yeah, I know. It's just, you know, just to think to allow to really allow a budget to really you know, dedicate
that will still
this.
be effective.
Yeah.
Mm-hmm. Okay, so I would recommend at least one video view ad.
Yeah, of course.
If you can do $5 a day on it, that's excellent. If you can do $2 a day, that's probably, you're going to see a little trickle from that, you know. Your opt-in ad, if you can do $10 a day,
yeah,
that's a good target. If you have to start at 5, see how that goes for you. You know, like we said, traffic ads. The reason traffic ads, again, and budget is really an interesting thing to talk about. So we're talking about per day, but a lot of times you can spend, like, let's say you want to spend $50 on your email list per day for 5 days because you want to test some things, right? And then once you hone in on which one is working best, you can go back to your $5 or $10 a day on just that one. When you're testing a bunch of stuff, you want to have enough budget across all those different ad sets.
Yes, of course. Yeah.
Yeah. Cool. Was that helpful?
Yeah, a lot. Thank you, Jax.
Okay, good. Oh, I see a big comment here from Steven. Was that all your questions, Louis? I want to make sure. Yes, good.
Sorry.
You muted yourself so soon. You're good?
Oh, yeah, thank you. Thank you.
Sure. So Steven said he's had ads going and was getting sales, but not consistent. They've all of a sudden stopped. He doesn't know what's going on. Ads cost money, wondering if stopping my ads and trying something else. Here's an email list. Getting help from Megan. Okay, I would say first thing, you're getting help from Megan. That's amazing. Great gift you can give yourself. She's really good at this sort of taking everything bite-sized, step by step, and breaking down what's really going on based on what your objectives are. So again, the trick with what we do is that there's a formula for running e-com ads and for running ads to a product. It doesn't necessarily work so straightforward for us artists, right? We know this because we've all tried a lot of things already. I would say I would have to look at your ad account to be able to answer this question, to know what was going on before and all the different things that maybe you've changed or tested to figure out why they've stopped. But I would say if your ads, if you've stopped making sales, obviously you want to turn those ads off and you want to start fresh with extracting what did work and combining those elements to try to get another winning ad that's profitable for you again. But if you're in a place where you don't really have the money, I would go back to organic posting, maybe trying some lower cost traffic ads to see which creative and copy is going to work best. That can be really fun too, because you get so much data so quickly with so little cost. So traffic ads are really fun for that, but I wouldn't get too caught up in it and throw too much money on it, because it's kind of like, oh no, I've spent too much money now. It's kind of its own little trap, but it's definitely a good tool to use. And also going back to your email list and making sure, like working with Megan and making sure that you're really intentional with what you're emailing, going through and checking which emails in your automated sequence are still working. Are any of those actually driving any sales? So there's a lot of organic stuff you can do too. That's part of this pre-planning and prep before you even start running ads. And I see Megan popping up. So I think she has some thoughts too.
Yeah, well, I was going to say, I bet a lot of our more advanced attendees would love to hear a bit more about your e-com strategy of how you start with the traffic to the shop and then the retarget process. If you could share some of that with them, I bet they'd love it.
Ooh, you know what I was going to share, and I don't feel comfortable sharing my screen right now because I don't want to get distracted and like poking around in my ads account, but I do want to share that there's a way that you can run a consistent retargeting ad. It's called a shop catalog retargeting ad, that you would pick your retargeting would be people who viewed or visited your shop, you know, in the last, whatever, 30 days. And every time that pixel gets tripped, it's going to show them in their Facebook or Instagram feed the ad of the products that they just looked at, right? I'm sure we've all experienced this in our own feeds. Oh my gosh, I was just on that website and now I'm seeing an ad for the product I was looking at, right? So there's a thing called shop catalog that you would run that type of ad. And again, you can run it consistently because it's not going to fire and it's not going to cost you any money if nobody's been to your site. So it's only going to charge you based on activity. So if you are running a traffic ad, like I was running a $10 a day traffic ad about my tape loops because I had this idea. I was like, oh, I have this cool picture and copy idea, and I don't know if like the margins on this are worth running a conversion ad, but let me just see. So I ran a $10 a day traffic ad to the product in my shop, and then I had a shop catalog ad running that was retargeting anybody who'd viewed anything, and it would automatically show them the things that they had viewed. And then that would get me conversions as well. So it was sort of a back-end experience where I think the reason it works so well and why it can be good for us musicians is because it's not pushy, one time only, get this now, you know, e-com stuff. It's, hey, here's something interesting and cool, because we all have something interesting and cool to share. I know we do, about your culture. Here's something interesting and cool that you might already like because you have engaged with my page in the past, or you're a lookalike of my email list or whatever you want to target for your traffic ad. And the other thing about traffic ads is it's really good to have, you know, if you're running a traffic ad to your site, have something else going for them to interact with, right? So I ran this post as a traffic ad, ran it to the product in my shop, and then I had the shop catalog. No, it's your Shopify, Chris, your Shopify catalog. Because Shopify and Facebook are really intertwined now, like even more than they were before. So make sure you're synced up with your Shopify and your Facebook. There's some settings in your Shopify that you can set up for that. So it's pulling the data from my pixel and it's pulling the data from my shop, and then it's showing people an ad where I put in the copy, like, I think I said like 10% off or something like that, where it was just sort of like a no-brainer. You already looked at this and now I'm going to give you a coupon code or whatever you want to say. It's going to show them either the item or a carousel of items they looked at, and then they go right back in. So it's a journey that's like, I don't want to say it's passive because it's active for them, but it's almost more passive for you in that you're allowing them to go on this journey that they are self-guiding, which I think leaves a better impression. And it's it's more in line with this idea that we're building relationships, where it's sort of like they don't feel like they're being sold to. They feel like they are having an experience that they wanted to take anyway. Yeah, Chris, that's a little bit beyond my expertise because I don't use the weekend website. I think it's weeknight website. And I'm not in the Shopify Lite, so I don't know for sure. You probably have a better understanding of that than I do. But I guarantee there's still some connection there that you can make. So that's the traffic ad to retargeting approach. That's just a very simple, straightforward. So like if you have a culture related product, I would say, you could try your CDs or whatever you're selling, your music itself, but I think it's fun, especially when we're all trying to figure out what else do our fans want, to use a traffic ad to test those product ideas. Because you will get tons of clicks and views, just that's the nature of the traffic ads in Facebook. And hopefully you'll get a lot of comments and feedback. And you might even get people joining your email list. It creates a lot of activity, and sometimes we just need that as like a springboard to get things going. So Stephen, are you saying that you actually sell a flute? Oh, okay, yeah. I mean, again, you really want to think about your creative, so your image, and a traffic ad is a really cool way to test out different image ideas as well.
And Chris also asked, when you mentioned the product catalog, he also asked, he said, are you referring to the Facebook shop and not your external shop, correct?
I am referring to my external shop. But again, you want to make sure that it's connected in Shopify. There's like a portal somewhere in the settings where it says connect your Facebook with your shop. So again, anybody who has like a really specific, like I need to look at your screen or what have you, like feel free to ping me, send me screenshots, or maybe we set up a time to talk. Like I'm definitely here to help with whatever is valuable to you from my experience. I'm out there in the trenches. Hi, Stephen.
So that traffic ad you're talking about, so is it like two separate ads, or is it just one ad itself?
So again, I know this sounds really appealing, like, oh, I can run a bunch of traffic ads, but you really want to think about your strategy overall. Like, you don't want to just run a bunch of traffic ads and not really know what you're expecting or what the bigger picture is. The traffic ads should be part of a larger strategy, like a product you really want to sell that you think is profitable within the system of running ads. Then you want to test creative or copy.
Okay.
Outside of that, maybe higher cost conversion ad, or before you're ready to start that.
Okay.
The other purpose would be to juice up your data and your pixels so that you can build lookalike audiences.
Okay, and then, but it's it's under shop catalog though, you said, right?
Yes, so you're right, two separate ads. You have your traffic ad that you're running directly to the product or your site.
Okay.
And then your shop catalog ad that is retargeting anyone who's viewed those products.
And then in the traffic ad, that's just getting people to the shop, right?
Yeah.
Okay.
So you might, I had some sales from it, but that's not what the objective really is. So it really is a front end cost.
And so then, but you can, because you were saying something that doesn't cost anything, or I mean, you were saying something it was a free ad or something.
I don't know what you might be referring to. So can you remember the context of that?
Yeah, it was for the shop catalog.
What I was saying is you're going to set it to a daily spend, but it's not going to charge you if nobody has been to your shop and nobody is there to retarget. Right? Because not everybody is going to be on Facebook all the time, right? So they might go to your shop, but they might not come back to Facebook for 3 days.
Okay.
So it's not going to be this automatic direct correlation. So like some days, like mine doesn't fire at all. And then other times it's spending a lot because I'm driving more traffic. So it's all about the ecosystem that you're building.
Okay. All right, well, I'll
So
definitely.
it's not that it's free, it's that it won't cost you anything because it's not running.
Right. I understand.
Okay,
Okay. Cool. Okay, thank you.
Oh, you're so welcome. I'm glad you asked that question, actually. I hope that wasn't misleading when I said it the first time.